So I just wanted to say, what is it? Kudos to Jackie because she did an awesome job on those questions. So excellent job and really appreciate it. And next we've got Ross Wilson, our Economic Development Committee Chair. Take it away, Ross.
Hey, good afternoon, Mitch.
Aloha, Ross.
As everybody knows, the pandemic has left thousands unemployed in West Hawaii, and many businesses, shops, and restaurants have shuttered for good, and others are just hanging on by a thread. So I know these are tough questions, and there's no easy answers, but how does your administration plan to kickstart the economy and put people back to work based on the current circumstances facing Hawaii Island?
You know, I think we all know people that are struggling right now, and it kind of breaks my heart that we're there. I have a couple of different things. One, I think we need to make sure that, again, we're a government helping people thrive and succeed. And one of the areas that has prevented a lot of businesses from getting back or even wanting to put money in is that there's no certainty when you're doing business with the county that you're going to be able to get through the permitting process. I think there's some really simple changes to look at as far as policy that you can hold people accountable and make sure that the government is helping people thrive and succeed. I think you also have to have communication with those people in the departments and have them understand that their families could be next if we don't have businesses up and running. We need to get our businesses back in a safe manner because if we have businesses that are working, you have people that are working, and that means you have people putting food on the table. So we need to be working together with our businesses. And again, one of the things I talked about earlier is businesses oftentimes know better than the government does in how to make sure things are going. The Chamber of Commerce oftentimes has a collective voice that will know better. And we need to have regular meetings with those groups. And that's why, a couple of weeks ago, I reached out to this chamber and to the other chambers and started asking them to get together to start giving ideas on how we do that.
And so that segues to the next question. So knowing that you're going to have a 4-year term, can you detail your specific plans for economic and community recovery post-COVID-19 on the Big Island, both for the short term and the long term?
Yeah, the short term is we need to change our philosophy of government. And that is to the government that helps people thrive and succeed. I almost feel like a broken record when I'm saying that, but it's so important that we have that mindset that we're trying to help people do better. The first place is that in short term is you put some really simple policies in place for the people who are working with the permitting process. You make sure that the different agencies that are working in, whether it's building a house or those kinds of things, are working together. Because in talking to people, they tell you it feels like Sisyphus. You push the ball all the way up, rock all the way up the hill, only to start again with another agency or another department. We need to work together so they're cutting the times and making things a lot more certain. We need to make sure that the way we're interpreting the laws are common sense interpretations rather than convoluted interpretations that are the most restrictive means possible. We don't want to become a Honolulu, but we need to grow if we're going to have quality jobs and we're going to have affordable housing. And that means we need to work together with those agencies to allow for success. That's the short term. The longer term goes into what I've been talking about is on a regular basis, listen to the ideas from the chambers of the commerce and others in our community, have regular meetings, regular dialogue. Opportunities are out there all the time. We need to make sure that we're taking those opportunities and whether it's grant funds or other opportunities, technological opportunities. Well, we also need to make sure that we're being competitive on our grants and having a cadre of grant writers that not only help the county government succeed, but also are there finding grants for some of our businesses, our farmers, our agricultural people in agriculture, so they can succeed as well.
So Mitch, if you're elected mayor, the county's CARES Act funds will probably be expended by then. So as mayor, what kind of funding programs would you plan to put in place to help small businesses once you take office?
So hopefully that the CARES funds gets extended, but again, looking at the funding mechanisms that help businesses, go back to making sure that businesses are allowed to succeed. Get rid of some of the red tape and the obstacles that are preventing them from succeeding. You know, have in our R&D possibly having places where people can find grants to help build technology, whether that's, you know, for small businesses or for others.
So we all know that the visitor industry is the engine that drives the Big Island economy. How do you plan to help the visitor industry on Hawaii Island?
You know, there's several things that we need to do. Again, I'll get back to starting to talk to and listen to people in the visitor industry to come up with ideas. And I've done that. I've sat on a bunch of different boards. But the other thing in the visitor industry, we need to make sure that we're helping them get back to work in a safe way. And I'm just going to kind of switch around my answer because I'm just thinking about two things at one time. For the visitor industry, we also need to make sure that the environment where our tourists are coming are well taken care of and well preserved.
So many people are now working remotely from home because of the pandemic. And this offers new opportunities, including attracting Kama'aina to come back to Hawaii if they can now work from here. So how would your administration address technology and infrastructure shortcomings on Hawaii Island?
You know, this is something I've been talking about a lot is how do we make sure that our infrastructure, there's a lot of opportunities for infrastructure. One of the things we just talked about was the CARES funding. You know, we could be using some of that CARES funding to set up mobile hotspots. There's things, I don't know if you're familiar with the HASP, which is a fixed wing plane that goes up for 30 days, 3 months at a time that can provide, one HASP can provide internet connections for the whole island. We need to be looking at those opportunities and making sure that we're taking advantage of those things, so not only for businesses, but for education and for healthcare. Those are all opportunities that we need to look at, and my administration is going to be pushing to take advantage of every opportunity that we can.
So Mitch, what CIP projects will your administration be advocating during your 4-year term?
Well, I think probably the biggest ones that I'm looking at right off the bat, especially in Kona, is the Ali'i corridor. I understand that there's a possibility of making that connector road available. I've actually started talking to some people. When one of our forums, the mayor said that it was almost in place, I've started going back and it is almost in place, and I've started talking to people to get that moving. The other thing that's going to be really important is the Kealakea wastewater treatment plant.
So switching gears a little, do you support the state extending Puakaloa training area's lease that expires in 2029? Yes or no? Please elaborate why or why not. Yes,
absolutely. You know, I think the military has done a great job taking care of the property up there. A lot of people don't know this, but when you look at recycling, which our county does very poorly, PTA has, I believe, just was awarded last year the top recycling base in the country for reuse, recycle, and there's a lot that we can learn from what they're doing up there. What they're doing with the environment up there is pretty amazing. I have a group called Next Tech. We talked about a little bit. We've taken our kids up there, and they showed us what they're doing to protect and preserve the environment. And you know, I think they've done a really good job in doing that.
And lastly, do you support geothermal development and other renewable energy sources on Hawaii Island? Yes or no, why or why not?
Yes. I think we should look at energy kind of like a stock portfolio, not just put all of our eggs into one basket, but geothermal and biomass or any of these others, solar, wind, they all offer us different opportunities for not only electricity, but hydrogen. And that's something that we should be looking at, running our buses on. When you have hydrogen, you're just putting water vapors into the air, which protects our environment as well. And we have until 2045 to get off of fossil fuels, and all of those give us exceptional opportunities to get off of fossil fuels.
Mahalo, Mitch.
Thanks, Ross.